Above Karis 9, the stars blazed with strange intensity. Fire and light tore through the void in brilliant bursts of orange and white, each flash marking the final moments of a vessel and all souls aboard. 6 hours of relentless combat had passed, and Fleet Commander Selthar understood the grim truth. His forces were losing. His clawed fingers dug into the command station as another blast rattled the bridge. Crimson warning lights threw eerie shadows across his blue-scaled features while his crew scrambled at their posts, shouting updates about damage and enemy positions. Every report pointed toward the same inevitable outcome. Death waited for them here. Third attack group approaching from Sector 7, his tactical officer announced, her tone controlled despite the terror in her gaze. 43 Kree destroyers, correction 67. They keep multiplying. Selthar observed the tactical screen with the strange serenity that comes from accepting one's fate. The Kree vessels moved through space like a massive insect swarm, appropriate, since the Kree themselves resembled enormous upright beetles. Their warships appeared dark and jagged, bristling with spikes and harsh angles, constructed for a single purpose: annihilation. His own armada, the pride of the Galactic Council, was being systematically destroyed. The graceful Valoran cruisers, with their elegant swept wings and protective barriers, were burning. The Zephyrite frigates, crafted from living crystal capable of self-repair, were shattering under sustained bombardment. The enormous Phthalan dreadnoughts, grown from bioengineered materials rather than built, were succumbing to overwhelming numbers. "Commander, the Radiant Dawn is breaking apart," someone shouted. That was the Zephyrite flagship. Selthar had shared drinks with its captain just 2 days earlier. They had reminisced about old campaigns and discussed plans for retirement. Now she was gone, along with her 800 crew members. "Withdraw all surviving vessels to defensive formation Delta 9, Selthar commanded. "Concentrate all firepower on their command carriers." It was a meaningless order, and everyone understood that. They had attempted every formation, every strategy in the Council's military archives. The Kree simply possessed too many ships. For every vessel they destroyed, 3 more emerged from hyperspace. This was their method of warfare: breed rapidly, construct ships even faster, and hurl both at enemies until nothing remained. A young science officer named Liz glanced up from her station. Her crystalline body caught the emergency lighting and scattered it into rainbow patterns across the walls. She was Zephyrite, barely 20 cycles old, fresh from the academy. This was meant to be a routine patrol assignment. Instead, it had become her tomb. "Commander, I'm detecting enormous energy buildup in the Kree supercarrier," Liz reported, her voice trembling slightly. "They're preparing their primary weapon." Something ice-cold settled in Selthar's chest. The Kree supercarrier's main weapon was a particle beam capable of slicing through a planet's crust. It had already obliterated 3 Council worlds. If they fired it here, it would tear through his remaining ships as if they didn't exist. "How long before they fire?" he asked. 3 minutes, Liz answered. 3 minutes. Selthar looked around his bridge at his crew's faces. Different species from different worlds, yet they had become family over the years. They trusted him to guide them, to save them. He had failed them. "Open a channel to all vessels," he said quietly. "Every frequency." The communications officer nodded, and an indicator appeared on Selthar's console showing the channel was active. He drew a breath and spoke. "This is Fleet Commander Selthar to all Council ships. You have fought with tremendous honor and courage today. Your worlds will remember what you sacrificed. It has been my greatest privilege to serve alongside you." He paused, then added something that violated every regulation, every treaty, every promise the Council had made. "I am now broadcasting a priority distress signal to all nearby vessels, Council members or otherwise. If anyone can hear this transmission, we are dying here. We desperately need assistance." He closed the channel and turned to his communications officer. "Transmit the distress signal on all frequencies, including the human colony frequencies." The officer's eyes widened. "Commander, the Treaty of Non-Interference explicitly states we cannot involve humans in Council military matters. They're supposed to remain neutral observers." "I'm aware of the treaty," Selthar replied. "I'm also aware that we'll all be dead in 3 minutes." "Transmit the message." The officer hesitated only briefly before complying. Everyone knew about the humans. They had arrived in Council space 20 years ago in their slow colony ships, requesting only permission to settle uninhabited systems and observe galactic civilization. The Council had agreed, but with strict conditions. Humans were forbidden from interfering in Council politics or military conflicts. They were to remain peaceful observers, nothing more. The Council had sound reasons for this treaty. Humans were newcomers who still waged wars among themselves. Their history overflowed with violence and conflict. They had nearly annihilated their own world multiple times with weapons of terrifying power. The Council had decided isolation was better until they became more civilized. But right now, Selthar didn't care about treaties or politics. He cared about survival. Message transmitted, the communications officer confirmed. Broadcasting on all human colonial frequencies. The nearest human settlement is the colony ship Indomitable, currently orbiting the gas giant in this system. Selthar nodded. He knew the Indomitable. It was one of humanity's generation ships, a massive vessel designed to transport 10,000 colonists across the galaxy. It had been studying the gas giant's moons for the past 2 months, cataloging minerals and potential settlement sites. Peaceful work. Scientific work. Not military work. Another explosion shook the bridge. The shields were failing. Selthar could see it on the display. The blue barrier surrounding his ship flickered and died. The next hit would pierce the hull. 2 minutes until the Kree supercarrier fires, Liz announced. Her voice steadier now. Facing certain death had a way of bringing strange calm. Selthar pulled up the tactical display and studied it one final time. 37 Council ships remained out of the original 200. The Kree had lost perhaps 300 ships, but still had over 500 in the system, with more arriving every few minutes. This was no longer a battle. It was an execution. All ships focus fire on the supercarrier's weapon system, he ordered. If we can disable it before they fire, we might buy ourselves a few more minutes. Every remaining ship turned its weapons toward the massive Kree vessel. Energy beams and missiles streaked through space, striking the supercarrier's shields. The shields held. They always held. The Kree had learned to construct their command ships to withstand incredible punishment. Shields at 15%, reported the tactical officer. We cannot survive another hit. 1 minute until supercarrier fires, Liz said. Selthar sat down in his command chair. Nothing remained to be done. He had tried everything, spent every ship, exhausted every option. Soon the Kree would fire their weapon and his ship would be cut in half. Then they would destroy the remaining Council vessels. After that, they would invade Karis 9 and enslave or exterminate the 7 million civilians on the planet below. He thought about his family back on the Valoran homeworld, his mate, and their 2 younglings. He had promised them he would return. He wondered if they would understand that he had done everything possible. The bridge fell quiet now, except for the hum of dying systems and the distant sound of explosions. Selthar could see the Kree supercarrier on the main display, its weapon glowing brighter as it charged. He caught his reflection in the dark screen at the display's edge. He looked tired, old. 30 seconds, Liz whispered. Selthar closed his eyes. He thought of his home world with its purple oceans and silver beaches. He thought of the taste of morning fruit and the sound of his younglings laughing. He thought about all the experiences he would never have again. 20 seconds. He opened his eyes. He would face death looking at it, not hiding. 10 seconds. The bridge crew had stopped working. Everyone was watching the display now, watching the weapon that would end their lives. 5 seconds. Selthar gripped his chair's armrest. 3, 2, 1. The Kree weapon fired, a beam of pure energy, white-hot and as thick as a building, lanced across space directly towards Selthar's ship. There was no dodging it, no blocking it. In less than a second, it would strike his vessel and slice through it like a blade through paper. Then something impossible happened. A new ship appeared between Selthar's vessel and the beam. It simply materialized there, as if it had always existed, emerging from some stealth system that Council sensors couldn't detect. The ship was enormous, easily, twice the size of a Council dreadnought, with a hull that was dark gray and covered in strange markings. The Kree beam struck the new ship's shields and stopped. The entire bridge crew gasped. The Kree weapon that could destroy planets was being blocked by this unknown vessel's shields. Energy crackled across an invisible barrier as the beam poured its power against it. For 3 full seconds, the beam continued firing. For 3 full seconds, the shields held. Then the beam shut off, the Kree supercarrier's weapon exhausted. The unknown ship rotated slowly, deliberately, until it faced the Kree fleet. Lights began appearing along its hull, hundreds of them. Each one a weapon coming online. What is that? Someone on the bridge whispered. Liz frantically checked her instruments, her crystalline fingers moving across her console in a blur. I'm reading the ship's identification beacon. It's the human colony ship Indomitable. But that's impossible. That cannot be a colony ship. The weapon signature alone exceeds our entire fleet combined. Selthar stared at the display. Colony ship? That vessel looked nothing like the peaceful exploration ships the humans had shown the Council. It looked like it had been built for one purpose only: war. A transmission came through on the common frequency. The voice was female, speaking in the human language that the Council's computers automatically translated. This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the human colonial survey vessel Indomitable. We received your distress call, Commander Selthar. Apologies for the delayed response. We needed a few minutes to drop our external civilian modules and prepare for combat. There was a pause. Then the voice continued with an edge that sent chills down Selthar's spine. Attention, Kree Dominion Fleet! You are ordered to cease fire and withdraw from this system immediately. This is your only warning. The Kree response came quickly. A harsh, clicking sound, aggressive and mocking. The translation scrolled across Selthar's display. Humans. We have heard of you. Weak. Soft. You hide behind treaties and play at peace. You are not warriors. Stand aside or be destroyed with the others. There was a long silence. Then Captain Vasquez spoke again, and this time something in her voice reminded Selthar of the predators on his homeworld, the ones that hunted in the dark. We gave you a warning. You declined. Very well. Let me introduce you to humanity's other face, the one we tried very hard to leave behind, the one we hoped we would never have to show the galaxy. Another pause. Indomitable to all Council ships. Get clear of the combat zone. This is about to get messy! The human ship began moving forward, accelerating toward the Kree fleet with shocking speed. Selthar watched, unable to look away, as the Indomitable charged directly at over 500 enemy warships. Alone. And as it moved, every weapon on its hull began to fire. 20 minutes earlier, aboard the human vessel Indomitable, Captain Elena Vasquez had been drinking coffee in her ready room when the distress call came through. She was reading reports about the gas giant's third moon, which showed promising deposits of rare minerals. Boring work, safe work. The kind of work humanity was supposed to be doing in Council space. Then her door chimed. Enter, Elena said, setting down her cup. Her first officer, Commander James Chen, entered quickly. His face was tight with tension. Captain, we've received a priority distress call on emergency frequencies. It's from the Council fleet. They're under heavy attack from Kree forces at Karis 9. Elena sat up straight. Karis 9 was the inhabited planet on the other side of the gas giant. They had visited briefly to register their presence in the system as required by Council law. She remembered meeting the planetary governor, a nervous little creature that looked like a purple rabbit. Nice enough. The Council fleet? That's Admiral-level command. What are they doing asking us for help? Elena asked. From the transmission, it sounds like they're dying, Captain, Chen replied. He pulled up a holographic display in the air between them, showing the tactical situation at Karis 9. Even without military training, it was clear the Council was being slaughtered. Elena stood and walked closer to the display, studying it. Her dark eyes moved across the image, counting ships, calculating distances, analyzing the Kree formation. Old instincts were waking up, instincts she had tried to bury for 20 years. Show me the exact message, she said quietly. Chen played the audio. Fleet Commander Selthar's voice filled the room, translated into English by the ship's computer. Elena listened to the whole thing, hearing the resignation in the alien commander's voice, the acceptance of death, the desperate hope that maybe, just maybe, someone would answer. When it ended, Elena stood silent for a long moment. "Captain?" Chen prompted. "Call a senior staff meeting immediately. Conference room A. Everyone drops what they're doing and gets there in 5 minutes," Elena ordered. "Yes, ma'am," Chen said and left quickly. Elena walked to her window and looked out at the gas giant below. It was beautiful, swirling with storms of orange and gold, each storm large enough to swallow Earth whole. She had been enjoying the peace of scientific exploration. No combat, no death, no hard decisions that kept her awake at night, but she wasn't just a colony ship captain. None of them were just colonists. That had been humanity's quiet lie to the galaxy. The Council wanted to believe humans were peaceful scientists now, reformed from their violent ways, and humanity had been happy to let them believe it because it was easier than explaining the truth. 5 minutes later, Elena walked into the conference room. Her senior staff were already there, sitting around the long table. Chief Engineer Martinez, Science Officer Okonkwo, Medical Officer Dr. Reeves, Tactical Officer Lieutenant Park, and Commander Chen. They all looked at her expectantly. "You all heard the distress call from the Council fleet," Elena began without sitting down. "They're losing badly. Current projections show total fleet destruction in under 3 minutes. After that, the Cry will invade Karis 9 and kill or enslave 7 million civilians. We're bound by the Treaty of Non-Interference," Dr. Reeves said immediately. She was older, with gray hair and sharp eyes. "We cannot get involved in Council military actions." "I'm aware of the treaty, Doctor," Elena replied. "I'm also aware that over 500 Council military personnel are about to die, followed by 7 million civilians. The Kree don't take prisoners. They take slaves. Those who cannot work are killed." Lieutenant Park leaned forward. She was young, Korean-American, with her black hair pulled back in a tight bun. "Captain, if we intervene, we'll be violating our agreement with the Council. They could expel us from their space, revoke our colony rights." "True," Elena acknowledged. "On the other hand, if we do nothing, we'll be safe and comfortable while millions die, knowing we could have helped." Silence fell over the room. Elena could see them all thinking, weighing the options, struggling with the decision. Finally, Chief Engineer Martinez spoke up. He was a big man with calloused hands and a thick Mexican accent. "Captain, I have to ask, can we even help? I mean, the Indomitable isn't really a colony ship. We all know that. But we're still just one vessel against their entire fleet." Elena smiled thinly. "That depends. How long would it take to drop the civilian modules and go to full combat configuration?" Martinez blinked. Then a slow smile spread across his face. "If we rush it, maybe 10 minutes. And weapons? All primary and secondary systems are functional. We've been running maintenance on them every week, even though the Council thinks we don't have any weapons. Railguns are ready. Missile pods are loaded. Electronic warfare suite is operational. Point defense is online." Martinez's smile grew wider. "She'll fly, Captain. And she'll bite hard." Elena looked around the table at each of them. "This isn't my decision alone. The treaty says we cannot interfere. If we do this, we're ending humanity's observer status. We're involving ourselves in galactic warfare. The Council might not thank us. They might fear us instead. Everything could change. Or we could stay hidden behind our gas giant and pretend we heard nothing," Dr. Reeves said quietly. "Is that who we are now?" "That's the question, isn't it?" Elena replied. "We spent the last 20 years trying to convince the galaxy we're peaceful, that we've changed from the violent species we were. We worked hard to build that reputation. This will shatter it." Science Officer Okonkwo, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. He was Nigerian with a deep voice and a careful way of speaking. "Captain, I came on this mission because I believed humanity could be better than our history, that we could explore instead of conquer, learn instead of fight. But I also believe that being better doesn't mean being passive when others suffer. Peace isn't the same as cowardice." "Well said," Commander Chen agreed. "I vote we help them." "As do I," Martinez added. "And I," said Lieutenant Park. Dr. Reeves sighed. "I suppose I can't let you all become heroes without medical support. I vote yes as well." Elena looked at Okonkwo. "Science officer?" "Yes, Captain." "Let's show them what humanity can do when we choose to fight." Elena nodded slowly. "Unanimous." Then, Commander Chen, sound general quarters. All personnel to battle stations. Martinez, start dropping the civilian modules. I want full combat configuration in 8 minutes. 8? Martinez said. I said 10. Then you better hurry, Elena replied with a slight smile. The senior staff scattered to their duties. Within seconds, alarms began blaring throughout the massive ship. The Indomitable had been designed to look like a peaceful colony vessel from the outside, huge rotating habitat rings for colonists, massive greenhouse domes, scientific laboratories, all the equipment needed for establishing a new human settlement. But underneath all that civilian equipment was something else entirely, a warship, one of humanity's most advanced combat vessels, disguised and hidden in plain sight. The Council had asked humanity to promise they wouldn't bring military ships into Council space. Humanity had agreed. They had brought colony ships instead. The Council had never asked what was underneath the colony equipment. Humanity hadn't volunteered the information. It wasn't technically a lie, but it wasn't exactly the truth either. Elena made her way to the bridge, which was already transforming. Panels were sliding back to reveal additional tactical displays. Weapon control stations were rising from the floor. The peaceful exploration bridge was becoming a combat command center. "Captain on the bridge," someone called out, and the crew snapped to attention. "At ease. Status report," Elena ordered, settling into her command chair. Lieutenant Park was at the tactical station now, her fingers flying across the controls. All weapon systems coming online. Running final diagnostics now. Shields at full power. Point defense grid activating. Navigation, plot a course to Karis 9, maximum combat speed, Elena ordered. The navigation officer, a young man named Thompson, looked up from his console. "Ma'am, at maximum combat speed will arrive in approximately 10 minutes. But the Council fleet will be destroyed in 3. "I'm aware, Mr. Thompson. However, we need 8 minutes to finish our transformation, and I'd prefer not to arrive half-dressed to a battle. Plot the course." "Yes, ma'am." Elena pulled up the tactical display on her command chair's armrest. She studied the Kree fleet composition, their formation, their weapons signatures. Everything was being recorded by long-range sensors. She began formulating a battle plan, running scenarios in her head. The Kree had numbers, but they fought in predictable patterns. Swarm tactics, overwhelming force, no subtlety. Humanity had spent 10,000 years fighting wars. They had learned a few things. "Time to full combat configuration?" Elena asked. 6 minutes, Captain, Martinez replied over the comm. "We're moving faster than planned." Turns out the crew is very motivated. Elena allowed herself a small smile. Her crew were all volunteers. They had all signed up knowing the truth about the Indomitable. They were colonists, yes, scientists and farmers and teachers. But they were also veterans, every single one of them. People who had served in Earth's military during the Consolidation Wars and earned the right to start over on a new world. The Council thought humanity had given up war. They hadn't. They had just gotten better at hiding it. 5 minutes to combat configuration, Martinez updated. On the tactical display, Elena watched the Council fleet dying. Ships were being destroyed every few seconds. She watched the Kree supercarrier charging its main weapon. She calculated the firing time and the target, Fleet Commander Selthar's flagship. "Mr. Thompson, I need you to calculate a very precise jump," Elena said.